Hey, hello, it's John. I'm driving in my camper van, and I'm not going to just ordinary places today. We're going on adventures. Woo woo! I've got Patch with me. I've got my van all stocked up, and we are going off-grid camping. I'd call it wild camping, but it's not so wild when you're in a big tin box with all your luxuries and modern conveniences. So let's just call it off-grid. I won't be connected to any grid. Let me show you where I'm driving, and let me tell you where I'm driving. I'm going to have it open this can of healthy drink to quench my thrapple, as they say in Scotland. So I'm heading south, and I must pay attention to the Google Maps. I can't hear it. There's something wrong with my microphone and an earpiece. So yeah, we're heading down south for 2 or 3 days. Not that far from home. It's about an hour or so, depending on the Google Maps estimate and what it actually takes to drive it in a camper van, which are two entirely different numbers. But over shorter distances, it's a smaller gap. So we're going to head down to a stone circle, which is 5 stones down in Northumberland, and I'm just going to head straight there from home because I've spent all morning getting the van ready, and then driving's about an hour, and by the time we get there it'll be about 12:30, 1:45, and I want to do the stuff there, do my Jon Binnie thing there, and then I will head over to the place that we're camping at. So that'll be a lot of fun. The place we're camping at is also a magical place. It had a wood henge, dating back to Viking times. So that'd be really cool. And then the other days, I'm not sure. I'm going to see how the weather looks. I'm considering. I was really interested in the Neolithic place I visited towards, I think it was the end of last summer. Because it was really funny because there's this Neolithic, they call it spiral art. And what was really fascinating about the kind of least popular place that had no signs, no markings, but it was on Google Maps. You could look it up and find it and park about 5 minutes walk away. That place was way more impressive than the place that was the most popular tourist site. I do believe there are into the hundreds, maybe thousands of sacred sites like this around Scotland, England, and Ireland, and even some in Europe, and some people I know have done some studies. I'm just remembering from my last visit. Some people have done studies to, they've taken wax or just sketch markings and tried to figure out what the patterns are, are there consistencies or dialects, if you like, of this art between the different locations, and there are definitely similarities and yet variances, and they're still a mystery. I love mysteries. I could spend every day searching for not searching for, experiencing mysteries. I feel like you don't really need to go far from home to experience mysteries. I heard that saying recently. I believe it's a very old saying that, like thousands of years old, that, you know, to the man who never leaves his own village throughout his entire life, but wants to experience the world, you know, he does experience the world because it's in his village. it's everywhere. And it's the same with the mysteries. There are mysteries in every place you look, and you know, you just need to look for them, and look for them in often unusual locations and frequencies and dimensions. Even if you're in a high-rise flat or, you know, a concrete jungle, there are still effects ranging from, you know, portals. I remember there's a street in London. It's called something like Bank Street or something, and it's where many people report time slips or time portals, and stepping through the street and then, you know, going into a shop, and the shop is, you know, 150 years old, or should I say, they've stepped back in time 150 years, and then they walk further down the street and they're back in their own time. Like the seemingly impossible is around us all the time. And I find it fascinating that for all that social media has brought attention to mysteries, I say social media if you include YouTube in that. YouTube's been great at providing a platform for us to record long videos and share these magical experiences, and yet at the same time, the algorithms often, you know, the algorithms are trying to figure out what succeeds and what people engage with. And so, for example, if the algorithm realizes that Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Dogman, Mothman, always men, right? That these kind of become very narrow and focused, almost rabbit holing, and people can become, you know, it encourages us to have more obsessive behavior about, you know, single themes or, you know, single legends. Yeah, the reality is there's a really broad range of experiences and mysteries to continue to explore. And sometimes we look into the past for them as well, but I do feel that new mysteries are being created all the time. This is the nature of the universe, is to perpetually diversify in experience. I love that, right? You know, imagine the laws of the universe are continually creating their own glitches and anomalies and unique experiences. And how does that happen? It happens because of you and I. We're all uniquely created and creative, and our every conscious interaction with this world around us, this universe, creates more diversity in the experiences for each of us, and that's super cool, right? Some of these cryptids, paranormal beings I've had interactions with, very close encounters, in fact, and I'm just wondering whether I should tell you right now or tell you in another video, because I should really be saving the microphone battery. Or actually, let's just go ahead and do it just now. So yeah, if I share a little bit about Sasquatch, the experience I had in 2019, and there was a short video of after when this happened. It honestly didn't occur to me to film it at the time, even though I had a phone in my pocket. I felt I just wanted to go with the flow of the experience, but there was a short interview from Shane, the amazing Shane at Unbiased on the Fence, who interviewed me the next day, I think it was. Yeah, my experience there in ECETI in Portland on the west coast of the US, 2019, was, well, there was many experiences there, and one was not just one, but many Sasquatch visiting the area, and one of them in particular, who felt quite young, and I've heard of people talk about the younger Sasquatch, and I was so new at that point. I was so new to all this. I felt that when I stepped into that location, that my psychic abilities were activated, yet there was something about the reality where I didn't feel that I had changed, but the reality around me had changed. And what I experienced was walking up to this tree. I was with two other people. We walked up to this tree. It might have been an oak tree, and it had a big thick trunk, and it had this big overhanging branches. And one of the other people I was with said, "Oh, I saw someone. I saw a shadow. I saw something look from behind that tree." And when I looked, I could see with my third eye a being there, not very tall, smaller than me, maybe around 5 foot. Yeah, around that. I mean, give or take a couple of inches either way. Maybe smaller than 5 foot. And dark in appearance, and yet there was a mysterious and an exciting energy to them, and so different in frequency to shadow figures that I'm used to seeing, who often feel, not exclusively, but often feel lower vibration. And so I started talking to it out loud, the three of us were so scared that we'd been holding hands, three people, and so I let go of their hands, and they held hands together, and I walked under the tree, and this Sasquatch walked up to me and put out his hand. So I reached out my hand, and I just had I think I had my palm open. I think so. And then it reached out its hand and put its hand through mine. And it did it quite a few times, maybe 10 times, waving it up and down, passing it through me. And it said to me, look, telepathically, it said, look, you're in a different dimension to me. We're in different dimensions. And the fact that it kept doing it with its hand, that experience felt like an eternity. I don't know how much else we spoke of. Maybe there was a little bit more conversation. Who are you? What are you? What's your intention? And then it walked off and went back behind the tree. And it was incredible. And I went back to the two others, and I shared with them the experiences that had happened. And a lot of other experiences happened in a very small, short space of time. Around that time, we saw UFOs, orbs, including some on the ground coming towards us. We heard Sasquatch howls. We heard this kind of whoops, the whoop whoop. I saw with my third eye another 10 fully grown Sasquatch in what I can describe as light being form. And yeah, there's a long list of things that happened, but connected directly to the Sasquatch experience was my hand felt, my hand went numb, and the only experience I've ever had of that was my 21st birthday, when I drank far too much back when I used to drink alcohol, and I passed out on my arm, and I must have slept in the same position for hours, and then my hand went numb. Not all of it, but I think my thumb went numb. Whereas this was broader and not quite as acute. You know, when you trap a nerve, you can often feel the locale, like the area that it affects, is very specific. Whereas I didn't feel that with the Sasquatch touching my hand. And I feel that it's such a funny thing to say, but the Sasquatch touching my hand. But what I did feel was this tingling, and after about 2 hours, within those 2 hours, I could move my hand. It was free to move, but it was a very powerful experience. You couldn't deny it. It persisted constantly for 2 hours. By the end of it, I was convinced that it had definitely happened, because I hadn't done anything else. It definitely happened as a result of touching the Sasquatch, because I hadn't done anything else in that time. You know, I'm not even sure if I'd gone inside and gone to the toilet or anything like that. I just remained outside for those couple of hours, and we were UFO watching. You know, why would you go off and do something else? There's a little bit of rain. Wow, I don't think that's forecast. So the next night, we also heard. Now, I didn't know this, right? But there were lots of Bigfoot howls, or Sasquatch howls, should I say? And I thought that they were coyotes, but they don't apparently have coyotes there, and they were very close. You know, they were just the other side of the fence of the ranch that we were in. Were really close, just meters away, and yet you couldn't see them. And I felt that they were summoning me, and I guess I was scared. I didn't understand the noises that they were making, and I didn't really want to go and you know, approach them directly. But I was out in the field, in the ranch at that time, just exploring. So I was, you know, available for contact, if you like. But I'm sure they could sense it. They were stood on the other side of this. At least one of them, maybe two, at most three, were stood on the other side of this fence. And it's an open field. You know, you would be able to, if they're in the third dimension, you'd easily be able to see them. And I feel that's, you know, these are really fascinating mysteries. And I also feel that our understanding of the universe, or should I say, modern science's understanding of the universe, is still far too limited and missing big pieces of the pie, right? So, for example, this first big Sasquatch was showing me that he was in a different dimension to me, and he showed it to me over and over and over. I feel now years later, and now being a professional psychic, spiritual mentor, that he is in the fourth dimension. That's what it feels like to me. And I'd say the fourth dimension is a really fascinating dimension because it's so close to the third, right? The frequency is much closer. And I've also had confusing experiences of the fourth dimension being lower vibration than the third. You could describe it as a shadow realm. And why would any being choose to hang out in a shadow realm, an alternative dimension to the third dimension, and yet have some of their energy bleed over, or some of their consciousness also connected into the third? And I feel, as a predator, for example, it is hugely advantageous to be able to switch between dimensions. So you can, you could use your voice and call out to your prey, that you're there, or perhaps you find communication with other beings in your species easier through the third dimension, harder in the fourth. Or maybe you're wanting to keep quiet in the fourth because it's more dangerous, and only speak out in the third. That these are just like a Sasquatch howl you can hear in the third dimension. These are multi-dimensional beings capable of switching between at least two different dimensions, and that's so cool, right? So they become invisible. They don't exist in the third dimension unless they choose to step into it. And I did have and this is similar to I'm just going to wave I wave back. This is similar to other phenomena such as ghosts, where they they can scream like a banshee, or talk or make noises or move things, but they're not fully in the third dimension. They're in the fourth. So what is and isn't possible to, I know that different dimensions hold different vibrations, and therefore hold different matter, if you like. That's definitely a phenomenon to also keep in mind. It's got flashlights at me. From another camper van. I think they were waving and saying hello. I don't think I've got anything hanging off my vehicle. So I feel that as part of, I do feel that these beings are terrestrial, and by that I mean that they exist on Earth. I also know firsthand, having had experiences of visceral, waking moments and experiences of the fifth dimension on Earth, that Earth already exists in these dimensions. When you step up into fourth and fifth dimensions, Earth is there. There is an Earth waiting for you. And that's great news, right? I can't comment on every single planet in the universe, but we are so blessed, especially considering the continued abuse that we give Mother Earth, that there are also higher vibrations of her, and they are home. We can make that a home. It's just beautiful here, isn't it? So just to the left is the North Sea, and you do get whales here. You get there's been sightings of orca here recently, the killer whales, and there's also minke whales here, And I've seen quite a few minke whales before. And then also basking sharks. So they're the big ones that kind of, sometimes they float around the surface and they eat plankton and other stuff. And then every now and again you also see pods of dolphins and porpoise. There's lots of other living things there too, but yeah, I'm keeping an eye out for large ocean creatures. I'm not sure you can even see the sea, but yeah, that's a really beautiful experience. So, what else to share? Yeah, so there was this other experience. Now, this was not that long after I'd seen Sasquatch and touched the hand in Portland, the west coast of the US. I also experienced, I find it fascinating, there's no traffic behind me. I also experienced this, everyone's waving at me today. If you don't know, in the UK, if you're in a camper van, you don't wave at each other, right? But if you're in a motorhome, you wave at each other. And it's just what we do. And if you caravan, you also ignore each other. That's the trailer. So I think it's really funny that people waving at me. They must think that feel that my vibe is in holiday mode and we're going on adventures. So I'm waving back whenever I can, whenever I notice them. Maybe it's because the roads are busier and there's more vans in full stop, no matter what type of van they are, and they're in kind of waving mode, and so they've extended their diversity of waving. I don't know. So yeah, just not long after I was back from the US, I was walking in woods in Scotland. Now, where was it? Somewhere, I believe it was somewhere near Perth. And for the first time, I became aware of the Sasquatch energy. And that I found in the moment a little bit shocking, because I was thinking, well, we're 3,000 miles away or something. It's really far away. And this feels, but the energy feels the same. And this time, instead of being on the ground, the Sasquatch was up in a tree, and they're really tall pine trees. I think they were Scots pines. And that was when I saw a clearer visual of a portal, and the portal was in a tree quite high up, but not in the trunk. The portal was sat just slightly out from the trunk of the tree, and the portal was an oval shaped dark spot, and I caught a glimpse of a Sasquatch come out of this portal, really just saying hello. I mean, it didn't really wave at me, but it looked at me, and I believe it nodded. And this is all just in a brief second, right? Just in a second or two, and then it went back into the portal, and the portal disappeared. And I was like, whoa, that just happened. And I remember stopping, I was walking my dog, Patch, and just saying thank you for the experience. And yeah, it was incredible. It was very enlightening. What was I saying about no traffic behind me? Now there's loads of traffic behind me, and I also need to go right. And will they let me out? I think so, yeah. This guy just did. Thank you very much. Just gave him the thank you flashing lights. Oh, my brakes. There we go. Yeah, so that for me was, just in case touching hands with a Sasquatch wasn't enough for my consciousness to get the fact that they were showing me repeatedly that they're in a different dimension. But also I had much stronger appreciation now for the fact that they are able to move between dimensions. And I just find that really exciting. And it's quite funny because as I'm saying all this, I'm getting glimpses, future memories, if you like, of the stone circle I'm about to visit. Just really realizing how windy it is. It's really quite windy. That's terrible for filming. But I'm going anyway. So even if I have to do a voiceover afterwards, I'm going. I need to get a bigger, they're called microphone windshields or muffs, which is a very different meaning in Scotland, so I try not to use that word. Yeah, it is really funny to have these experiences. And since then, also if I'm watching people going, off-grid camping, and they're in places where they have paranormal experiences, I feel those same shifts in energy that I did when I touched the hand of a Sasquatch, and when I also had that experience of seeing them in the woods. Since then, I'm sure I've seen more. I've seen other beings too, but not. Sasquatch feel very high vibration. They are very wise. Quite, how to describe it? They're brutes. They're big and strong. But that is not mutually exclusive with high vibration, right? And wise. And whenever I say the word wise, I'm seeing some of their lighter, whiter grey hairs on their fur, and their light body, which is very bright white energy, and yet I feel these are all connected. So their physical body is also very in the third dimension is much darker. And is it possible? I feel it is, that we can have multi-dimensional bodies. Well, I've hit the somewhat awkward situation where I either have to choose navigating or recording, because my phone's just overheating in the sun. So we're going to stop this video, or at least this video clip here. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or would like to share any of your experiences with Sasquatch, please do. It's a lot of fun to do so. And looking forward to sharing more about my journey. Thank you so much. Take care. Sending love.